Hi there, welcome to the YouTube channel. Now, as I think I've said several times in videos over the years, green is always my favourite colour, and just occasionally, well, quite regularly, I like attacking with just big green creatures and not doing a lot. Luckily for me, The Last Airbender gives us a brand new commander that really enjoys us attacking with big creatures. And obviously today we're talking about the Earth King. 3 in the green for a 2/2 human noble ally. When the Earth King enters, we get a 4/4 green bear creature token. And then whenever one or more creatures you control with power 4 or more attacks, you get to search your library for that many basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped. Yeah, this kind of just does that little nichey thing for me where I like getting ramp on and I like attacking with big creatures. So yeah, fairly straightforward deck today for today's video, but the Earth King's here, so let's have a look at it. Here we go. So, starting at the beginning, 41 creatures in the deck. I did say it was pretty straightforward, this deck. It's not a complicated one today. Starting with your ramp, with your usual selection of elves. You've got Arbor Elf, Elvish Mystic, Fire Lord, and Landwild to give us that green ramp. And then, because we are playing so many creatures with power 4 or greater, it made sense to have the Fanatic of Ronus here today. And yes, if we need to eternalize, we can. But yeah, tapping it eventually for 4 green mana means we can ramp a lot quicker than we would do normally. Gala Greeters are in, just gives those treasure tokens, maybe some life gain when we get there. Azusa, Lost but Seeking, so we can drop some lands even quicker. Circle of Dreams Druid, just to help us really ramp out when we start hitting our mana. And it made sense to have Eldamri, Corvekel in here as well. Yeah, we can tap 2 creatures quite happily and reveal the top card. Reveal a card from my hand or the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield. Yeah, you can only do it during our turn, but yes, fine, really. You know, let's just get creatures out really cheaply. Gilandra, Caller of the Wildwoods in as well. Very nice if we're using Capinus, and when we spend this mana to cast a spell with converted mana 6 or greater, we get to draw cards, so that's kind of useful. And then, to make sure we can draw a lot of cards, the Outcast Trailblazer makes an appearance, enters the battlefield, we get a colourless mana of any colour, which will obviously in this deck be green. But whenever another creature with power 4 or greater enters under the battlefield under our control, we get to draw a card. Yeah, more card draw. And then we start hitting the big boys. So Rona's the Indomitables here, just so we can chuck around a +2/+0 and trample when we need it. Scrap Shooter comes in from Bloomborough, just gives away to take out those annoying artifacts and enchantments. And at 3 mana for a 4/4, it's pretty good. We do have to give someone a card to take something out, but you know, make a friend, give them the card. Savala, Heart of the Wilds, gives us a nice load of mana, and we should draw some cards off this because we should have pretty much the biggest creatures going most of the time, I feel. Surak, the Elusive Hunter, makes an appearance. Just gives another way of drawing cards whenever our creatures become the target of spells or abilities our opponents control, so we might as well draw some cards that way. Wayward Sawtooth lets us play additional lands, and eventually we hit the City's Blessing, have a 5/5 that triggers our Earth King. Beast Whisperer, just do some more card draw, and then Goreclaw, Terror of Qual's Sismar is also in as well from M19. Creature spells for power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. Yep, okay then. And when it attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and trample when Goreclaw attacks. So made sense to have this here. Another one of the gods, we have Nylea, God of the Hunting as well. Gives everything trample, which helps because some of our big boys don't have trample. And yeah, then we can pump 4 mana into it to pump things up if we need to. Vengevine is just a little bit of fun. I haven't had one for a long time, and I decided to put one in here today. We should be able to cast 2 creature spells a turn eventually, so if this gets killed off, we can get it back from our graveyard quite happily. The Defiler of Vigor, just to make our green permanent spells, well, our green creatures bigger, because basically we've got so many green permanent spells, we might as well get the +1/+1 counters as much as we can. Elder Gargaroth for the Beast, the Life, or the card, depending which one we want to do. And then a little bit of fun with the Geode Golem. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost. It's a lovely way to get round the command attacks if the Earth King has been killed off a couple of times. So play this when you can and try and keep it safe. From there, Ojekazlan, the Deepest Growth, does the whole let's go find a land and a creature when we get there, and obviously we get an extra land off it when it dies and turns into Temple of Cultivation. Railway Brawlers in as well, because I do want to chuck around some +1/+1 counters. Again, this hits the whole trigger for our king to get the power of 4 more, and probably makes everything else a little bit bigger. Well, a lot bigger, I would hope. Foreign clicks goes and finds a small forest, and eventually we can do the transformation if we need to do the grand evolution, and then start doing all the fighting side of things. Aggressive Mammoth is just a fun one from M20. 6 mana for an 8/8 that has trample and gives everything else trample, so another way to make sure our damage gets through. Avatar Growth is a little bit dodgy. I'm going to be honest about this because it does ramp your opponents up as well, but at the end of the day, this can be come down on turn 4 as a 4/4 that ramps your mana up for the next turn. Yes, it ramps everybody else, so slight downside, but I still think it's good enough to have in the deck at this stage. Plus the fact not many people play basics. We're playing a lot due to, well, the Earth King, basically, so we might get away with people not being able to find anything. Kadoma of the East Tree, might as well have this as another way of getting permanents into play. Rampaging Baloths gives us those beast creature tokens, which will trigger the Earth King, because it just says, it doesn't say non-token creature, so hey him, I expect they'll be a bit daft since it creates a 4/4 bear that's meant to attack and get the land, so yeah, we'll go with that one. Regal Behemoth, because I like being the monarch and I like the idea of tapping my lands for extra mana so I can cast my bigger creatures quicker. Surak and Goreclaw are in as well. Let's give everything else trample as well as +1/+1 and haste on the turn they enter. So yep. A little bit of fun. Ancient Bronze Dragon comes in. We'll deal the combat damage and roll a d20. Put X +1/+1 counters up to each of the 2 target creatures where X is the result. Yeah, okay then. I'm happy with that plan. Cragplate Behemoth, Baloth, is also in. Hexproof Haste, and if we can kick it, which we should be able to with the amount of ramping we're doing, coming in as a 10/10 with Haste is pretty good, and Hexproof for that matter. Dawnglade Region, just another way of making us become the monarch, and as long as we're the monarch, it gives everything we control, permanents we control have Hexproof, so it makes them harder to remove, so people do have to actually start blocking to kill our creatures. Old Gnawbones in, just for the treasures. Nyx Bloom Ancient, I actually prefer the artwork from the Final Fantasy version here for the Cloud Siege Djinn as well, just so we can tap our permanents for 3 mana instead of just 1 or whatever it may be. Vaultborn Tyrant, just another way of drawing cards, gaining life, and obviously it replaces itself with a token when it dies. Zolpatrol, Hungered Dominus, just so we can make sure we can double everyone's power and toughness each turn and hopefully make this indestructible at some stage quite happily, which then gives people lots of headaches. Golter, bit of a no-brainer, so we can just empty our hand out, and because I've always loved the card, Apex Devastator is here just to do the quadruple cascading when we cast it. Don't put it into play any other way, just literally wait until you can get the 10 mana to cast this, which you should be able to do with this deck. We have 12 sorceries, starting with Finale of Devastation, just as a win effect. We should be able to get X's 10 at some stage to give all our creatures +X and haste, and hopefully we've got some trample boys around as well to make sure the damage goes through. Some more ramp with Nature's Law, Rampant Growth, 3 visits. I'm in green, Genesis Wave had to be here. You know the score. If you don't like Genesis Wave, you can replace it with something else. I love Genesis Wave, hence why it's here again. More ramp with Ranger's Path and Sky Shroud Claim. Another quick way of winning, Overwhelming Stampede. Creatures you control gain trample and get +X, where X is the greatest power amongst creatures you control. Yep, okay. Shamanic Revelation for the card draw and the life gain. Will of the Sultai, just to basically have some fun with that +1/+1 side of it. Occasionally, you can get someone, if someone scries something to the top, you can get them to mill their 3 cards, and then we get to return all land cards from our graveyard to the battlefield tap. That bit, not so much, but +X, X +1/+1 counters on target creature where X is the number of lands you control, and it gaining trample to the end of turn is not a bad payoff for 5 mana. Rashika's Expertise just lets us draw a card equal to the greatest power we have, and then we get to cast something for 5 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost. And finally, Savala's Stampede. Just again, a little bit of fun for me. I like this one. Everyone votes. The wild votes. You reveal cards from the top of your library. Reveal cards from the top of your library to reveal a creature card, and they go on the battlefield. And then you may put a permanent card from my hand onto the battlefield for each revote. So make sure you got a handful before you do this one. For instance, Smuggler's Surprise, because it's just a nice way of cheating in some big boys if we need to. Heroic Intervention to protect everything. Harrow for a little bit more ramp and a little bit of land search. And Return of the Wild Speaker to basically pump everything up or draw a load of cards without cards in our hand. Artifacts, kept it fairly straightforward. Amulet of Vigor, so the lands that we get off the Earth King can come into play untapped so we can cast more things. Elixir to shuffle everything back in when it goes pear-shaped. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Emerald Medallion, and the Throne of Eldraine, so we're in a mono. 2 enchantments to finish it all off. Garruk's Uprising for more card draw and another way of chucking around Trample. And the Growing Rights of the Mock, so we can eventually get our Poseido, Gaia's Cradle into play, which we should be able to do quite quickly with this deck, I feel. As I said, I kept everything fairly simple with the lands, as you can see. Evando, the Waking Haven, is just another cheap version of Gaia's Cradle. Yes, you have to station it all up, but with the amount of big creatures we're playing, getting this to station to 12 so we can start tapping it for extra mana is pretty straightforward. 27 forests. I had a bit of fun with Lotus Field. You can drop Lotus Field and put another forest if you want to, but I figured this was quite nice. We've got enough ways of ramping out our lands that sacrificing 2 off so we can get 3 mana off a land is pretty good. And obviously with the Amulet of Vigor, hopefully we'll have this in play and the Lotus Field will enter untapped. Mosswort Bridge made pretty much sense. Let's hide away a creature and then cast it because we should be able to get 10 power quite straightforwardly. Nykthos is in because we're in a mono deck. Oran Reef, the Vastwood, is also in to chuck around +1/+1 counters on our creatures. The Shire for a little bit of way of gaining some life we need to for some food token creation. And make sure that everything is a forest at heart. Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth's in. And that's it. As I said, my take on the Earth King is pretty straightforward. There's nothing fancy about it. This is like ramp, play big creatures, smack face. That's it. Nothing you need to do more than that for this deck today. So if there are some creatures or other spells you think I should include, please leave me a comment down below. I do read them all. I do respond to them all eventually. Please hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if it's the first time you've been here. If you've got any cheers left, please hit the cheers. Help me beat the YouTube algorithm. And I'll be back tomorrow with another one from Avatar. So for now, have fun, take care, see you soon. Bye.